being on week two of the college football rankings. So I still have Ohio State at number one because even though they just played Western Michigan, they were dominant and won 56 to nothing, and they didn't do anything to make me doubt them being the best team in the country, which I thought they were from before the season began. And it's amazing what Ryan Day does with these wide receivers at Ohio State. They've got this freshman wide receiver, Jeremiah Smith, and he is a five-star wide receiver, but he's only played two college games, and he already looks like he could play in the NFL. He's had two huge games and is already one of the best receivers in the country. He looks like he might already be better than Emeka Ibuka is, who is Ohio State's most experienced wide receiver and is probably going to be a first round pick next year. And Georgia, I've got at number two. They just played Tennessee Tech, an FCS team, but they did what they needed to do, winning 48-3. And of course, we know that they're one of the best teams in the country because of what they did the week before. So Texas, I've got it number three. They were really impressive last Saturday against Michigan. They dominated Michigan at the line of scrimmage on both sides, and Quinn Ewers had a great game, and it was a blowout at halftime, pretty much over. So Texas is a serious national title contender, in my opinion. And I've got Ole Miss at number four still. Even though they just played another nobody, they did do well, winning 52-3. I still think, like I thought before the season began, that Ole Miss is a top five team because they've not done anything yet to show me otherwise. And then I've got Alabama still at number five because even though they didn't do as well as I would have thought, they did end up winning it big, and I still think that Alabama is a top 10 team that will have a decent chance to beat Georgia in a few weeks. And then I've got USC at number six because even though they just played Utah State, they did play really well, winning 48 to nothing. So I still have no doubts that they're a good team because of what they did the week before against LSU. And then I've got Tennessee at number seven because they were really impressive last Saturday, destroying NC State, who is a team that has been one of the most consistently solid college football programs. And Tennessee now, I think, probably will make the 12-team playoff. I think they're probably going to get to 10-2 or possibly even 11-1 this season. And I've got Miami at number eight. Now they just played a nobody FCS opponent, but they did win easily, 56-9, and I just have them ranked this high, of course, because of their win in their first game against Florida. And Utah, I've got at number nine because even though 23-12 over Baylor wasn't a real impressive score, they were looking really impressive before Cameron Rising got hurt. So I still think that with a healthy Cameron Rising, Utah is a for sure top 15 team and probably a top 10 team. And I saw that Cameron Rising is probably going to be okay. And then I've got Oklahoma State at number 10. So since the season has begun, I've not felt very confident about my picking Oklahoma State to win the Big 12 this year because they did not look very impressive against Arkansas. I would have thought that even though that would probably be a close game, that they could have won in regulation at least. And then Oregon, I've got at number 11. I don't know what's wrong with them. I guess they are overrated. So they played Boise State last Saturday and just barely beat them. It went down to the end. They only won 37-34. And Oregon had two kick returns ran back for touchdowns in that game. So offensively, they just scored 23 points, which was really bad. And defensively, giving up 34 to Boise State was pretty bad. Now, Boise State is considered to be a team that has a good chance to be the team to make the 12-team playoff from the group of five, but still, Oregon, with the roster that they have, should have blown them out. And it's looking to me right now that Ohio State is clearly the Big Ten's best team. And then 12, I've got Missouri at 2-0, just two wins over nobodies. But they haven't done anything so far to make me question them being a pretty good team. So 13, I've got LSU. So they didn't look great last Saturday against an FCS opponent. So they did blow them out, but it wasn't a big blowout win. They won 44 to 21, and giving up 21 points to them was not very impressive, especially the way their defense played against USC. So 14, I've got Penn State. So the question now is Penn State just not a great team, or it is that just a bad game for them last Saturday when they barely beat Bowling Green? Because West Virginia, I guess it's possible that they could just not be any good, but as much production as they had coming back, I thought that they would at least be a decent team. And Penn State blowing them out, I thought was pretty impressive. But I think that Penn State probably is a good team, but I still doubt that they're a top 10 team. And 15, I've got Kansas State. So they did struggle against Tulane uh, last Saturday, but they did get the win by a touchdown, 34 to 27. So the question with that is Tulane just good because they have been good these past two seasons, or is Kansas State overrated? I personally think that it's just that Tulane is a pretty good team, and that Kansas State is a good team. But we'll find out more about Kansas State Friday when they play Arizona. And then 16, I've got Louisville. So 2-0 with two wins against nobodies. This week they blew out Jacksonville State 49 to 14. So my opinion on them hasn't changed. Still think they're a pretty good but not great team. And then 17, I've got Oklahoma. They did not look impressive at all last Saturday overall. So they only beat Houston, by 4 points. And I don't think that Oklahoma looked at all like a top 25 team last Saturday. But now I do think that Oklahoma is still a top 25 team. But I know they did have some injuries in that game, but you still would have thought that they could have done better than that. And then 18, I've got Michigan. So they've obviously fallen off quite a bit from last season's championship team. So their defense, even though I still think it's a top 10 defense, isn't as good. Texas scored 24 points on them in the first half. They couldn't hardly stop them. And their defense did play better in the second half, only giving up one more touchdown. But their offense was like almost non existent. Michigan's offense is terrible this year. Their offensive line has taken a big step back, which is causing their run game to not be as good. And their wide receivers are terrible. The only good pass catcher they have is the tight end, Loveland, and they don't have a quarterback that's worth anything. So I think that Michigan now is probably going to lose 4 games. I picked them to lose 3 games, the Texas game, and then Oregon and Ohio State. I still think they'll lose to all three of those teams. They'll for sure lose to Ohio State. Ohio State will destroy them. And I think now they'll probably lose to USC too. And 19, I've got Iowa State. So I said before the season began that I thought Iowa State, with all the production they had coming back, could probably have a pretty good season this year. And it looks like maybe I was right because they got a win last Saturday that I didn't even pick them to get against Iowa on the road, 20-19. And then 20, I've got Arizona. So they've been inconsistent so far this season, and overall they've not looked very good. So this Saturday, uh past Saturday, it wasn't their defense that was the problem. It was their offense. Their defense only gave up 10 points, and they were just playing an FCS team. But and their offense only scored 22 points in that game. So of course we'll find out a lot more about Arizona Friday when they play Kansas State. And then 21, I've got Boston College. So they just played Duquesne, an FCS team, but they did what you would expect. They won a big 56-0. I just have them ranked because of their win the week before over Florida State. And then 22, I've got Northern Illinois. So I know this may seem crazy to have them ranked, but I think I've got to give them credit for what they did going to Notre Dame and pulling that upset. Notre Dame did something this season that I don't think I've ever seen happen before. Uh, so they went on the road to Texas A&M, which is always a really tough place to play, even when A&M isn't that good, and won by double digits, and then went back home and lost to a group of five team. So I don't really know what to think of Notre Dame right now. Uh, but even though Texas A&M won big against a nobody, 52 to 10 last Saturday, I had to drop them too with Notre Dame because Notre Dame has the win over them. Northern Illinois, I guess, could be the team of the group of five to make the 12-team playoff. And then at 25, I've got Clemson. So I know it may seem a little strange to rank them after what happened in week one, but you do have to remember that was Georgia, one of the best and maybe the best teams in the country that blew them out. And Clemson did win 66-20 last Saturday against Appalachian State, which is only a group of five team, but they've been usually one of the better group of five teams. And I still don't think Clemson's that good. I think if they are top 25, they just barely are. But that will be it with this video. And please subscribe and thanks for watching. And I'll be back soon.